Unfortunately, in the education system, growing up in school, secondary school, and then going into university, it's very rare that we're taught the world of finance and understanding our worth, but most importantly, how to make more money. Hello and welcome to the Art Podcast. I'm your host Ross Baxter, and today is episode 117 of the series. If you're new to the podcast and you want to learn what it takes to make it as a career as an artist, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So today on the show, we're going to be diving into the world of how to make more money as an artist, but most importantly, understanding financial literacy and diving into the world of making better choices with our financial decisions. First and foremost though, I am not a financial advisor. However, I want to share with you guys today the mistakes that I've made along the way, what I've learned through experience, through reading, etc. And we shall take it from there. But firstly, I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been tuning into the podcast over the years. It's great to be back to creating content for you guys. And if you have any questions or any topics that you want to see raised on the podcast, feel free to comment down in the comments section below. But let's dive straight into it. So how do we make more money as artists? And it all starts off with, believe it or not, financial education. Unfortunately, in the education system, growing up in school, secondary school, and then going into university, it's very rare that we're taught the world of finance and understanding our worth, but most importantly, how to make more money. And to me, over the years, it's still quite common to see people very skeptical talking about making money and sharing what they've learned in our industry. So I want to dive into a vast variety of topics that I've addressed here on my left in a list and see how we can take it from there. So first of all, we all have to take responsibility for our actions and make sure that we take back that control and take responsibility for our lives and learn and grow from that. And one of the most obvious things that you can do is realize that you have a choice. So we all have the choice to learn. And when it comes to financial literacy, it's just like anything else. It's just like art. It can be learned. You can study it and get better at it, the same as when you're practicing your craft as an artist, whether you're in film or game. And this is why I feel it's important to dive into the world of financial literacy, or at least try to learn the fundamentals, just so you get more relaxed, so you remove that stress that has built up over time through lack of experience within this area. So this is why education is important. And if there's any teachers who are tuning in right now to the episode, it'd be great to see what could be brought into the education system. However, I do understand how difficult it is to change the curriculum and how things are run. So I do feel your pressure, and I understand you guys are always getting asked to teach more and to expect a far much higher standard than what's possible to maintain. So I understand the pressure that you guys are going through. However, I do feel it's important for just any profession to understand financial literacy, not just artists. So it's important, like I said, to dive into reading the right resources, learning from the right people, and taking responsibility. And that all starts by making a choice. So make a choice to learn. So one of the things that I want to talk about when it comes to financial literacy is actually something very simple. And it's going to be the obvious one to start things off. And it is savings. Savings is such a simple concept. We all understand it. However, the reason why we should save is actually for time. Time to me is power. Time is the thing that gives us freedom. It gives us choice, and once again it goes back to the ability to choose. So once we have a certain amount of money saved up, a lot of weight is taken off our shoulders, and we're able to make better decisions because we're not stressing about our financial decisions. And as a result, we become more happier with our lives, and we're able to move on and progress as an artist. So when it comes to interviews and the whole concept of negotiating in an interview, the one thing that you can do to take back control so that there's no pressure is have some financial savings saved up so that you don't rely on that employer. So when we go into an interview, especially when we're starting out as maybe students, or that we're new to the industry, by having that extra money backed, where we don't rely on the job. Yes, obviously we want to get a job in the industry and we want to get a profession that pays well, but it's good to not rely on that income. The problem with the industrial age way of thinking compared to the information age, we're now in the information age, is that people were always taught that you go to school, you then find a job, etc., and you basically keep that job. So you're relying on one income. And to me, the best solution is having multiple streams of income, so having money trees. And this is why being a producer is better than being a consumer. And I'll dive into that a wee bit later. But like I said, when it comes to entering a negotiation, whether you've just applied for a AAA company position, or maybe you want to go into a VFX house or an indie studio, you want to make sure that you're as relaxed as possible. And one way to be more comfortable with your career choices is by having a wee bit of savings backed up. Some people call it an emergency account, or you can just call it standard savings. Just having that extra money backed up gives you the ability to make the right choice and not be impulsive in your decisions, to be just like, right, I want this job just because of the money. As we all know, as artists, we're very creative individuals, and we want to sometimes have the ability to take ownership of our artwork, and to have that ownership takes time, it takes patience, but we also want to have that control, that ability to choose what we want to do. And that's why having no stress financially is important. And that's one thing I would really want to hone in today's episode, is the importance of time. Give yourself as much time as possible. Even if you just work a part-time job as a student, maybe you're doing your studies, but once again, weigh the costs. What's more important? Focus on your education. Don't go full time while you're doing your education, but if you have to, then there's nothing wrong with that. Then it comes down to planning, figuring out how do you take a step back and see the bigger picture. Right, I've got to work full time just so I can pay the bills. I've got to do my studies. How could I still have time to allocate some savings just so as time progresses? Once again, when it comes to that, making that choice as a career, you're able to make it more with more peace of mind. So like I said, take back control, take responsibility, learn financial education as much as you can, diving into the right books. I will always recommend one channel when it comes to best books, and that's Ali Abdaal. I also recommend Rick Kettner, two incredible resources that has helped me over the years. And one book that really just cemented just the basics for me was Rich Dad Poor Dad, understanding the difference between asset and a liability, income versus expenses, and that's what we'll touch on at the moment. But also remember, it's important to expect the unexpected. Life has its ways of going back and forth and twisting and turning, you name it. There's so many different variables that we can't see. So it's good to sometimes have that little bit of safety net to just so that when something does come up, you're more prepared for it. So like I said there, Rich Dad Poor Dad, a very iconic book in the world of money, which once again dives into the world of the whole concept of the industrial age mentality versus now. So like I said, we're now in the information age. We're in the world of the internet, and we have so many incredible resources at our disposal, and it's and we have to make sure that that obviously that we make the right choices. And it all comes with understanding the basics. So assets versus liability. So what is an asset? That is the first question. An asset is money that comes into your pocket or goes into your pocket. A liability is money that goes out of your pocket, and it's the same thing for income and expenses. There's good assets. There's good income. There's even such a thing as good expenses. Like for example, you've got your software. That's a good expense because in the long run, it's going to help you generate more income because you get better at your craft. And the Rich Dad Poor Dad breaks down the fundamentals of financial literacy in a very clear way that I highly recommend anybody to read. It's part of the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, which is a series of books that covers a vast variety of topics within business. It talks about the 4 quadrants, which is basically having a job. So basically, you're either an employer, you're either self-employed, you either run a business or you're an investor. And this book basically talks about the importance of not relying on just being an employer. So like I said earlier, an employer is basically having one income and relying on that one income. But the moment you have more than one income, the moment you don't rely on that job, and that's a great position to be in, because remember, you don't know what's going to happen over the long run. However, I want to stress, I want to address, there we go, that's better. Things take time. So everything I'm talking about today, don't panic. It's taken me years to learn just where I am today, and I'm still learning. I will always be learning, and we're always growing together. Don't feel like you have to learn these things overnight. So don't feel panicked. Don't feel the pressure. Today's episode is really to focus on just introducing you to some of the basics, so that it gets you thinking. It gets you curious about the world, and even more importantly, more relaxed about the world, because it's an incredible topic and very fascinating topic once you begin to dive further into financial literacy. So once again, like I said, understanding the basics of assets versus liabilities. So the goal is obviously to generate a vast variety of assets. Of course, we're going to have liabilities, so the money that's coming out. But over time, as artists, what can we create that are assets that possibly compound over time, that grows exponentially? Maybe you don't want to have lots of different incomes that are going to require a lot of extra work. So then you have to then address, well, what assets can I create that requires no work? And the common one is investing into the S&P 500, which basically talks about diversification of stocks and bonds. So you're basically building a portfolio. And the reason why that was talked about for so long, from people such as Warren Buffett, etc., a very common name. Like for example, a very successful investing company is Vanguard, and Vanguard basically has always talked about the owner of Vanguard. I highly recommend. It's one of the books. I'll make sure to link in the description below. Always talks about those who basically investing is a very gambling mindset, put it that way. And the way in which Vanguard is basically set up is basically to teach you that you don't need to know all about stocks. It's basically you invest in an index fund and you leave it. And over time, due to compounding and just the way the stock market always goes up, over time, you will be making a profit. And that is like the basic of basics when it comes to investing. And that's why assets as a whole, like there's so many different types of assets. An asset for artists could be creating a course. So basically you create one course, and once you've uploaded it, and say people buy it over time, because you only have to make it once, it's constantly going to be bringing you money, and that's a very viable thing. And that's why I feel creating content, so going back to that statement I said earlier, being a producer, not a consumer, is very viable, because the more eyes you reach, the more opportunity you have of making more wealth, and it helps grow your assets. It's the same reason why you see so many people writing books. Obviously, they want to share their value and stuff, but once again, it's an asset, because over time, once they finish creating it, it then makes them more money. So identify what assets can you create as an artist that is going to help you in the long run, but most importantly, assets that you're going to enjoy, that you're going to be passionate about, to then make more money. And then once you then line up all your assets, you realize that you're no longer relying on that one employee income. And that's an important place to be, because you're going to be more stable. And there's nothing wrong with just focusing on the employee. So if you want to go through your career, progress up the ladder, go through just up, going up and up and up, all the way to whatever position you want to go. Maybe you just want to stay in one position. That's okay. If that's what you feel is right for you, then that's not a problem at all. So give that a go. But like I said, understand the difference between an asset and a liability, and it's important to keep a record of this. I always recommend just something. It could be as simple as either notes, maybe it's like Excel, just understanding where your money's coming in, where your money's going out. So your expenses, keep a record of your expenses over time, just to see what can you afford and what can you not afford, and then that will help you understand where you lie, and then it will help you progress in your life. But this all links to something very important, and this is the psychology of money. That's another very important book to check out. Is that we all have different perspective of money. Some people, believe it or not, hate money. Some people love money. Everyone's upbringing is different. Everyone's experience with money is different, and this is why I feel it's not why we should not judge others when it comes to money. It's a very some people, it's a very difficult subject to bring up, and that's why I always feel that once we understand it, though, we're able to become better and more happier with our lives. And that's why we'll always put financial education first, and that's why I stated it right at the top of today's podcast. So once again, learn how to build money trees, so building passive income over time. Figure out what streams could you dive into. Some people want to be content creators on YouTube. Some people want to be live streamers. Some people want to create concept art and then distribute that concept art, and then possibly branch out into merchandise, including their artwork on that, and then they're building their brand. Some people just want to teach. Maybe they want to teach courses and then sell those courses. And then there's other people who want to then build a business, build a video game, build a game, and then build products around those things to then make more money over time. And once again, you're building your knowledge of finance, which is important. So all these things that I've just talked about, once again, it's a lot of different things, but it all comes down to this very important question: what do you want in life? What stage are you in your life? What's your plans for the future? And these can be very daunting questions to address, and it's okay. We all have moments of doubt, and sometimes it just takes time to take a step back and reflect, right, where am I at the moment? Where do I want to be? And take the time. It's not something that you have to rush. Obviously, some of us have more time than others, but it's important to at least think for the future, plan ahead, and be prepared. And that's why the common one for years for stability was always pensions, 401ks, and I might be completely wrong when I say this, but when it comes to pensions, you get work pensions as well. And if I remember correctly, for the standard pension is 3% from work and 5% from the business contributions if you're getting a work pension, or it might be the other way around, but I know it's normally 8% as a whole of contributions that obviously goes into your pension. And then obviously you have your state pension as well, and if I remember correctly, it's 30 years for a state pension. You can, if you're in the UK, you can contact gov.uk, so HMRC, to find if you have any gaps in your national insurance for that as well, for your national insurance contributions. So once you've reached your the time for your pension, you're able to take it. And then, like I said, state pension as well. State pension, I believe, changed in 2016, 2017, in terms of will you get it or not, or whether or not it's guaranteed. So make sure that you always keep up to date with these things. The gov.uk website is an incredible resource, and I feel that if I was taught that in school, I would have been so much more at peace. So I highly recommend to check out that as a resource, especially if you're wanting to build a business, and maybe you want to go self-employed and become a sole trader and start your own limited company. Then once again, an incredible resource. But even just for people who just want to learn a bit more about how the world works in terms of just the fundamentals, I highly recommend to use that as a resource. So like I said, address the main three questions. What do you want in life? What stage in life are you? And what's your plans for the future? Three massive questions that take time. They might take you a year, they might take you 5 years. Sometimes it takes you a lifetime. We all have a different path to take. But like I said, investing, understanding your finances is crucial. So when it comes to like some basic things to talk about, just to help when it comes to your finances, maybe you're wanting to buy a house, or maybe you're wanting to build your pension. I think it was 2016 it came out, was a LISA account. And LISA is basically, I think it's called it's like a life saving account. How what's it called again? But basically what happens is when you invest into this, it's between the ages of 18 and 40, you're able to, if you invest £4,000 per year, you get £1,000 back, so you get 25% of that, and then you get interest on top of that, and that can be used as a down payment. Now you might be wondering, why on earth am I talking about this on the art podcast? Well, once again, there's a lot of things when it comes to being artists that are more than that are just as important as the art, and it's the things that go on outside of life that make working as an artist more easier. Like that's why I always talk about peace of mind when it comes to understanding money. So a LISA account is a very important, it's a possible resource that you could possibly look into and invest in if you're wanting to put a down payment for a house in the future. And the great thing about a LISA, if you don't want to use that as a down payment for a house, it can then be converted or just used as a pension if you wanted that as well. So you could possibly even have 3 pensions depending on your situation. You could have your work pension, your state pension, and then you could have your LISA account as a pension as well if you are comfortable with investing into that account. And then, as always, the famous word, or the magic of compounding, and this applies to your art as well. So as you guys will all know, as you've worked on your art, you've got better. So say, for example, one person's working harder and more intelligent than another person, that person's year versus another person's year is going to be significantly different. And that's the beauty of compounding. If you start now, over time it's going to be a far more exponential curve, and you're going to get far more return for your investment the sooner you begin. Now, I'm not saying go invest now. But what I am saying in regards to investing is invest in your education, invest in understanding this world, so that you can make better decisions for you, for your family, but most importantly for your mental health, that will then progress your art career because you have that peace of mind. So give that a go. And this can all be improved by making better choices, and it could be by simply becoming a producer, not a consumer. If you don't like to produce and you're not wanting to create content, that's all right. There's many other paths to take. And like I said, but if you do want to go down the route of passive income, you could create courses, make a book, create content on YouTube or TikTok or whatever social media you think is viable for your product and services, and give it a go. Right, once again, so when it comes to making more money, one thing that I talked about in a previous episode around this subject is the world of negotiating. And I feel like the most important thing you can ever do is focus on learning to be 2 things. Get more comfortable at talking, but most importantly, get better at listening. The art of listening is incredible. The more we become more comfortable at listening, the better we are at talking. If we listen first before talking, you're going to become a far better person at conversation, and you're going to be more comfortable in the situation where you're talking to your employer or a client, or possibly a sponsor about working with you and growing together. And this is why body language, confidence, eye contact, trust is vital. But the only way we learn that is, once again, is by doing, is taking action. And when you're a student, one of the things I feel is such an incredible thing to do is have a part-time job just being a sales assistant. You could be working just on the tills, just any simple job, or even just any job that gets you around people more I understand that we all have certain levels of anxiety. Some people don't feel comfortable being on a till and being around so many people, and that's okay. But in time, you will get comfortable. You'll get a lot better at it, and it just takes patience and the willingness to take that first step, which is normally the most daunting. But I guarantee you will be the best decision you make, and having that extra bit of money coming in as well will make you more comfortable as well when it comes to just making payments, maybe for student loans, etc., and just getting through your years at college or university. So give that a leap, or give that a go. Give a sales assistant position a go, because body language is so important when it comes to talking to people. Your goal is to help people as much as you can, and it all starts by believing in yourself and showing that you can deliver on what you say you will. And there's one book that I started reading recently, and I'll read it here. It's called How to Make Friends and Influence People. And it's been an incredibly fascinating book to read, because it stated 6 very, very important topics which got me really curious about. And it makes so much sense when I read it. So basically, I had like a bunch of different rules, and the first one was like, be genuinely interested in people. And because as we go through time, we all realize that we all want things for ourselves. So the moment you focus on them, the more likely you're going to gain their trust. But you want to be genuinely interested in the person. Don't try and hide it and be somebody else. Be yourself. And then a simple one was actually, which caught me off guard, but it was so obvious when I looked back at it, was smile. Using your smile is such a powerful thing. Because when you smile, other people smile. It just works. It just does. I love it. It's brilliant. And then the third one, which was even cooler, right? Which was even more awesome, which was something which, I don't know, it was just awesome. It's basically remember people's names. Saying people's names when you address them. And then the fourth one was, to me, it's the most important one, which was being a good listener. I feel listening is something that we're not taught once again in school. We're always taught to write and to read, but we're rarely taught how to speak and how to listen. So I feel like that is like the focus of just life as a whole, is to learn how to be those 2 things, or at least try to get better, because that once again leads back to today's main topic, which is how to grow your wealth. Because wealth is defined not by the possessions you have. Wealth is defined like how far can you go, or how long can you go without working. Can you go 1 week? Can you go a month? Can you go a year? Can you go 10 years? That's what your wealth is defined by. It's by time. And because time is the thing we all crave. And those simple things, like another one was make the person feel important. Like show that you're interested. And it's the same thing when it comes to relationships. It's the same thing when it comes to making friends. Being genuinely interested is what makes us, like when somebody is willing to listen to you talk about something that you care about, you're going to have more trust in them than other people who are not willing to listen. That's the beauty of listening. And this all applies when it comes to negotiation, because it's not about just what you want, it's about what they want, and working together as one, working as a team. So when you're choosing your clients, working in the film and game industries, you're there to provide a service. Somebody is paying you for a service. And that's all based around trust. And trust is such a valuable thing that sometimes we fail to acknowledge. And I think it's important to focus on those simple things. And that's why confidence in your body language is important. And that's why I feel when you go into an interview, like you don't want someone to use brinksmanship against you. So I talked about this on a previous episode. And personally, I wouldn't like to be in an environment where someone is trying to use brinksmanship anyway. So brinksmanship is basically when somebody tries to use their power or their so-called position in hierarchy against you, and you don't want that. You don't want to have someone that in your life, and that's why being more educated on these topics can be game changing. Okay, so we've talked about so many different things, and I know I've kind of darted around. So I hope it's been of interest to you guys. But the last section I want to dive into is when it comes to the more business side of things, the making money, etc. And it all starts with, like, where is your audience? How do they buy your and secondly, how does your audience buy your products? So if you are wanting to go self-employed as a concept artist, maybe you want to create fantasy art for character design. So what section of the internet is that main audience? Maybe they're in Discord communities, maybe they're Instagram, maybe they're in Reddit, maybe they're in YouTube. What kind of area geologically are people? Like, is there a particular area, like target niche, that you need to focus on? So knowing where your audience is crucial. My audience is on YouTube, and it will always be on YouTube. So that's where I focus. And then how do they buy your products? Like, what's the process? Like, how are they going to get what you're trying to offer them, and how can you make it as simple as possible? And these are two very important questions when it comes to growing your income. And then lastly, the way, well, not lastly, but the next thing when it comes to growing your income that keeps you in business and keeps you staying in your employer. Maybe you're an employer for a AAA studio. Once again, did you deliver on what you said you will? So once again, does your actions speak for themselves? Are you delivering high quality work for the game, or are you delivering high quality art for the client, and so forth? And are they wanting more to come back? Are they then using word of mouth? Are they then, because of the level of quality that you're delivering, they're then telling other people about it? And that's the beauty of delivering on what you say you will. Over time, you could just work for one client and only one day a week and deliver incredible work for them. And just by delivering what they say will, on what you say you will, they will then, you could just ask them, maybe in your proposal or in your contract agreement, say to them, could you please refer me to your clients or to other, to your friends, etc. Like, that could be a simple agreement that you put down at the bottom, and they can then refer you once you've delivered on what you say you will. And once again, it's trust. That's the beauty of people. Like, we're all here to help you. Use people the best way possible. Like, help people. It's all about helping people, because when you help people, people will help you back, and that's the beauty of it. And I can never say it enough. We should all be helping each one another as best as we can, because it always come back. Trust me, it will always help you in the long run. We're brought up in an age of so much possibility, so many amazing resources. Use them as best as you can, and you'll grow so much from it. So, like I said, did you deliver on what you said you will? And, like, how much value did you bring them? And then once again, that will then compound to more clients or more possible job offers from studios. You'll have more followers on social media, if social media is of interest in you, which then once again will bring more people to those assets. If you're building assets, whether it's in your business, maybe it's your content plan, or maybe you want to bring people to your book that you've just written, or maybe it's to your courses that you've just created, and that's building your money trees that over time rise up and make your life a lot easier. And that's basically, like, the fundamentals that I've learned over the years when it comes to making more money. And money is not a scary word once you begin to understand it. And I hope today's episode has helped explain a few things. As always, if you guys are new to the podcast, it'd be grateful if you subscribed, if you think it's been helpful. It's great to be back to recording content for you guys, and I'm looking forward to making more content for you guys in the future. As always, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button as always, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.